What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Expand Podcast with your host, Omar, and co-host, JP, where we're going to be talking about what the market is doing. What the F is the market doing right now? And all of us, some of us obviously are scared. Some of us are just going through it like they don't even know what's happening. And for those people, or for those agents, or for those real estate professionals that think that nothing's happening in this market, well, they're going to be in for a rude awakening if they haven't already, because I think by the end of the year, we're going to hit crazy high interest rates never seen before. Well, I guess not before, but in my lifetime, obviously, I've been doing this 20 years, and I have not seen, 8.5%, 9% interest rates at all.
Ever?
Not
really?
since I've been born, yeah, obviously.
Okay, but like being in the
12,
business
13,
for 20
14 years. Yeah, no, not being in the business. I've not seen a 9 to 10% interest rate, standard interest rates at all. Maybe hard money loans and stuff for 12, 13% and stuff, but with crazy points. But the market was so depressed at that time that you had to charge 12% because the property values were $100,000. So the big difference, this is a whole different ballgame, but yeah, we're going to be talking about that today and kind of just the strategies for real estate professionals to get through this storm. And obviously, these are our opinions. This is something that's going to be working for us now. So we're going to be enlightening you guys with, with hopes that you guys are going to take this and run with it. And if it helps one person out, then we did our job. But it's going to help more than one person because you guys are all listening. You guys are all plugging in. And make sure that you subscribe to our podcast and, be a follower and ask some questions. And we're going to put a poll out here right now on IG to see if you guys want to ask us any questions about what we do with, with challenges that we face on the daily, because it is definitely every day that we face challenges. So, welcome and appreciate you guys all tuning in. So, JP, what's cracking? What's happening?
Yeah, I guess we start with the first topic, which is the market shifting.
Yeah.
I feel like what month would you say last year it was that we would say, oh, things were at a complete pause? Was it September or the month right before that?
No, I think last year was July, August?
Okay, end of summer, where
summer.
the rates rise and, market
It kind of just stopped, man.
kind of took
it
a complete pause.
4% to like 6.5%, 7%, and everyone's like, what the F just happened?
Mm-hmm. I feel like that time around there was like a lot more noise around, the market shifting, the interest rate rising.
Uh-huh.
And since we've been hovering around like the 6 to 7% for 8 months now, or close to a year, people don't realize that the interest rates are still peaking more and more, and less buyers are able to buy property.
Right.
And one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of real estate professionals running in circles with buyers that unfortunately cannot afford the home. Because on a $400,000 house at a 7.5% interest rate, you're still looking at like over a $3,000 a month payment.
It's crazy. $3,000 a month.
That's a lot of money.
You can't be working at McDonald's.
Well, excuse McDonald's, for someone that even makes $60K a year. What is that? $5,000 a month. If you're spending
$3,000 on your mortgage, what about your gas, utilities, food,
your kids' needs?
I mean, that's $2,000 left over.
So that takes me to like my next topic on the conversation of like us being in the business, and of course, making a living by providing solutions to buyers and sellers. I think people need to be quick to make a decision on if they're able to provide a solution to that person or not in a market like this. Would you agree?
No, 100%. Because if you don't find the solution for that seller right away, I'm not sure what you're going to do.
You just have to move on, honestly, and be honest.
If you don't have the tools in your tool belt, how are you going to take out a nail from a 4x4 without a hammer?
And
think about that, like
tire patching kit and all that other stuff.
No, yeah, and just that's a good segue into this too, is because obviously every tool has something for a specific use. Hammer to hammer a nail, but the back of the hammer to pull out a nail, right? And if it's lodged in there an inch in a 4x4 post, You're not going to take some pliers and try to pull it out. It's going to be very difficult. You have to have that leverage and stuff like that too. So just goes to show you that if you have more tools in your tool belt, you'll be able to provide more solutions. But before we get into providing solutions, I have this thing that I read where in this market shift right now, 50% of agents are not going to sell a house. They're not going to sell a house in 1 year. The other,
Take a listing, put it on the market, collect an offer, and get it closed. Is that what you mean by that?
yeah, or a representing a buyer, because they just don't have that. They just don't have the knowledge. They don't have the, because all of these agents, and I'm not going to say everybody, there's a good portion of them that got into the business the last couple of years and they kind of failed through this and still made money. Yeah. Now this next change, where we're going to be hitting that 8-9% interest rate by the end of this year, which is only 4 months away. We're coming into a September to remember, or it's going to be a September to remember for the people that know what to do, or it's going to be a September to remember the day or the month that they decided not to be in real estate no more because it's too fucking hard. So there's a two-prong here with September coming because it sets you up for your fourth quarter. And I saw this statistic where it's 50% of agents right now are not going to be in the business in the next 6 months. And out of the other 50 that are available or that are still working, 25% of them are only going to sell 1 to 3 houses a year. Okay? And then break that down one more time. The other 25%, right, is broken down into 2 other categories. Then there's going to be another 10 or 15% of that 25 that are only going to sell 4 to 7 houses. And then guess what? That 10% are going to probably sell 10 houses plus. And then that small 1% is going to sell 20 houses or more.
5% of the agents make 95% of the money.
Always. It's always been that way. And I think it's going to get worse now. And 5% of those agents will make 95% of the money. Well, guess what? Guess what they all need? They all need different type of strategies, different type of tools. And unless you know what's coming, I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know what the interest rate's going to be. We don't know what's coming, but I do know trends, right? And of all of our pent-up demand for houses, not enough inventory, we're going to be faced with less inventory because now people are not going to sell unless they absolutely have to. Have to. Yeah. Divorce situations, what do you call it? People
Why would
getting
they get
the properties.
They wouldn't get rid of that 3-4% rate unless they absolutely had to.
Oh, no, unless they had to. Mm-hmm. I got a phone call yesterday as an example, and I wasn't going to share it, but now that we're on this topic, he called me, good client of mine. I bought a house from him a long time ago. I flipped it, sold him a couple other houses, and now he ended up like buying one house and he's staying there. He called me yesterday and said, "Hey, Omar, I want to go see another house for $580,000 in today's market with a 6.5-7% interest rate, and that payment's substantial." I asked him, "Why are you wanting to move?" "Yeah, well, our house is kind of small." "Okay, it's called sacrificing a little bit. Stay there because check this out. They only owe $220,000 or $230,000 at a 2.7% interest rate.
Wow.
And their payment's like $1,300. You can't even rent that same house that's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath for $2,000.
Why would they sell that property?
Exactly. So now that money can be used to go to different places, to go create experiences, to create memories with the family and everything else. And that 2.7, whatever it was, I'm like, bro, you know what I told him? I said, don't sell. I'm not going to show you a house.
And that takes me into the next conversation. I'm so glad you brought this up. You essentially gave him, and I was talking to this yesterday to the team when we were doing the meeting, is a lot of the times we don't understand that a lot of giving the client their best interests, a lot of the times as them not buying or selling in this current moment.
100%.
And I think too many agents, too many professionals will take that same client like you did and just listen to the need and be like, oh yeah, my client wants to sell their property and go buy a $600,000 house, and they instantly think about commission, but they don't take a time to sit back and think, wait, this actually doesn't make sense to for
No,
my
not
client.
at all.
Let me explain that to them.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's where the true success comes in the business, is when you truly have people's best interests in mind.
You have to, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it sucks because, and I even told them, like, another agent, another professional is going to tell you, sell the house.
Yeah.
Maximize your
100%.
profits. It's like, okay.
I just had a conversation with the seller yesterday, and I was like, I'll be honest, Mr. and Miss Seller, like, I don't think it makes sense for you to sell your property. Similar situation.
Yeah.
You have a great interest rate. You only want to, sell because of location, and your payment's extremely cheap. Sacrifice for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we could. And his reaction was like, dude, like, you're probably the first, professional that's
tight.
told me that.
Hell yeah.
And now that's someone that I'm going to continue to follow up with, continue to provide solutions for. And when the time comes, I'll be able to help him. And I think the more of those relationships you're able to build, that's when your business really takes off.
And that's when you're going to get the come list me calls, come help me buy a house call without you
100%.
ever, marketing to them.
Yeah.
That's what's going to be cool. And what's crazy is that he's like, maybe can I come in the office and you can explain it to me and my wife about how this whole breakdown is, about why I should get a credit line versus selling the house. Because guess what, guys? Just so you all know, if you have a first deed of trust at 2.7% interest rate, well, if the value of the house is $400,000, they're going to lend you about 80% on a credit line, right? Up to, right, 80%. So if you only owe two and some change, you'll get a credit line for $100,000, never selling the asset. You now have a credit line on your property. And this is what I told him yesterday. I was like, so then when the market changes and the interest rate hits 8.5%, 9%, guess what happens to value? Value is going to decrease and drop. And guess what? You're going to take that $100,000 that you have in a credit line, go use $50,000 of it to go buy a house, fix it or flip it, make another $30,000. Now you can utilize that to pay down your mortgage. You can pay back your credit line, or utilize that credit line to go buy a move-up house, keep your main house, and then Section 8 it or rent it out for top dollar for rent. And if your payment is $1,500 or $1,300 plus the payment of your credit line, that might be $700 or $800 because it might be interest only. Guess what? The tenant's covering your payment plus the credit line payment, and you just have one mortgage payment on your new house. And so I broke it all down yesterday in this phone call. It was about a 15, 20-minute phone call. And he's like, wow, this is awesome. His wife's listening. So we're going to set up a time to go, plan it all out and break it all down, because guys, that's what we're in the business for. You got to figure out ways to help your clients not just sell a house, buy a house, but help them financially. If you have the knowledge in you, it's your duty to go and help them, because they're naive or they just don't know how to do it. And another realtor, and I'll tell you this, another fucking realtor is going to just say, sell the house, let me make my damn commission check. Oh, let me go find you another house for you guys to buy, but not truly listening to that seller. And that's something, JP, that I know you, myself, by association as well too. Now you're literally like teaching and letting the team know that this is what we do. Mm-hmm. And that's the best part, man. This is cool. I know we went on a tangent about this specific, but it's helpful. I know everyone's going to take something from this for sure, because if you don't, then you're just not fucking listening.
Yeah. Point of the conversation is just put the client's best interest before your own.
That's it.
Yeah. And what they address at first is not always their best interest. That's just what they believe it is. Because like you mentioned, they're naive. But I want to talk about a little bit, because we were mentioning last week, you're kind of shifting your focus a lot with, a lot of the things that you're doing with your rentals as far as what's cash flowing, what's not cash flowing. I'm selling this to utilize this money here. What has been like some of your main focuses with your rentals the past 3 months going into this next quarter of the year, knowing that there's a market shift coming, and how are you going to most utilize those funds?
You know, after yesterday, I was like, I'm selling it all, right?
He says that at least once a week.
And
so.
and I do, because it's like, you know, you have a lot of equity there, and it's like you can utilize it to cash out, and you could make bigger moves. So a funny story is I am selling 3 properties, just 3, that are going to net me a good chunk, right? At least money that's in there, crazy values on all of them. And they were rentals. And I bought them well, and I have a 4.2% on one. I have a 4% loan on another one on an owner financing deal. But guys, one thing I'll share with you is that because this market's changing, and I know that if rates are going to go to 8-9%, there's going to be so much more opportunity as an investor to go and buy better properties. So not saying that these properties are going to get replaced with better properties, but they will be better cash flowing properties. So what happens is I'll be able to weather the storm if something happens, and I want to have some dry powder to be able to go make these these results happen with the opportunities that present themselves. But check this out. Let's just say that I'm selling a few of these properties, and I already sent out to my CPA what my tax consequence is going to be if I sell these properties, because you have capital gains. And in my bracket, you got to see how much capital gains you're going to be paying. So, you know, they told me it was going to be like $400,000 to $500,000 of income based on capital gains. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, well, then if I'm making $500,000 in profit, I'm privy to, let's say, a good 45%. So $250,000 is my tax consequence that I have to pay the IRS if I don't have write-offs. So what I'm doing is, after seeing that, I said, okay, well, I'm cost segregating a couple other properties that I purchased this year. It's going to cost me about 20 grand to do these cost segregation studies on some of these investments. And I'm going to be able to write off 200,000
and only pay
$50,000, but then I can probably write off the rest with some other stuff that I got going on. So hopefully, if this works out well, I might pay $10,000 to $20,000 because of the cost segregation study
on that $500,000.
On that $500,000 of pure profit, which is really freaking awesome. Now, rewind. Pretend I don't have any properties to cost segregate or depreciate. You're writing a check for $250,000 to the IRS for selling property.
Unless you disappear to an island and never come back.
Correct. So all the people that are out there making a lot of money, but they have no assets to write off, you're paying Uncle Sam $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. I think that's the stupidest thing you could ever do, unless you're making $5-6 million and you're paying Uncle Sam, $300,000. Okay, cool. That's cheap. That's like me paying 30 grand or something, and 30 grand might be a lot for a lot of people that are listening.
Which it is. It's all perspective.
It's perspective.
So it's all relative.
But when I was paying $3,000 to the IRS, then 10, right? Then 15, then 30, then 40, then 60, then almost $100K. And then I got smart and said, I'm never writing a 6-figure check to the IRS, and I never have.
You wrote a 6-figure check before?
Almost a 6-figure check to the IRS.
What's the biggest check you wrote to the IRS?
Like $80-some thousand, because I didn't know about depreciation at that time. And this is the crazy part. I told myself I would never write a check for more than 6 figures ever. So I figured out a way to start writing off everything along with cost segregation, depreciation, all that stuff. So now I'll make a few $1,000,000 and pay nothing. The government will pay me money because of all of the tax codes that are in the book to be able to write off, along with Section 179, which is the IRS code, which is you buy a vehicle for 6,000 pounds or more, you're going to be able to write off all of it, providing you purchase it. And I know this stuff because I've done the research on it as well, right? I wrote off my truck, wrote off everything else, my SUV. But now this year, thanks to, our I shouldn't talk shit, but yeah, thanks to what do you call a new president, we're now at 80% of bonus depreciation instead of 100. So now that 6,000 pound vehicle that you end up buying, JP, to not pay taxes, you're only allowed 80% now. So if it's a $100,000 truck or SUV, you're only going to be able to write off 80% of that 100K.
He also tried to W-2 all Californian real estate agents.
Isn't that a trip?
To me, it doesn't even make sense.
It
How
doesn't.
do you W-2 an independent contractor? Anyways, I don't
it's
want to
another
talk about
story.
politics.
But obviously, yeah, to hedge all of the inflation from the money that was printed, et cetera, et cetera. This is exactly why interest rates are going to go up, to try to hedge something, because obviously that debt is through the roof, and they got to do something. So they're going to increase the interest rates for that little bit, across, everywhere. That interest rate's going to be increased. The payment's going to go up. Obviously, it's more interest to the top line. So, guys, the whole moral here is figure out a way to, to save money on taxes, figure out ways to go make money in this business, because what else are you going to do? I mean, you can come work for us. That'll be great, because we'll put you to work and this, that, and the other, or you can be a barista at Starbucks, because this is pretty good today. But if you're in this real estate business...
I used to be a barista at Starbucks.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
For 8 months.
For eight months. But what happened? You didn't like it?
No, I quit.
Because you didn't like it.
Well, like...
Not to talk shit. I love baristas. I know how to make coffee and all that stuff too.
It's just one of those things in like the corporate world I've learned, and I'm not talking shit about the corporate world because this world literally runs based off of the corporate world.
100% it does.
We need those people, but a hard pill to swallow is just like, for someone that's like a hustler, a hard worker like yourself.
Dude, you can't be put down. Like, you can't be put in a cage.
That, and it's just like when you work in a job that's, you're paid based off of your time, not based off of the product and value you create. I kind of shifted that perspective because I feel like early on in your entrepreneur career, you're paid for your time, correct? Because people are like, my time's valuable. But then you get to a point where you're not paid for your time, you're paid for the outcome you provide.
Yeah, for the results that you bring, yeah.
One thing that I've learned is like in that industry, no matter how hard you work, you're going to get paid the same as the shittiest person on that timesheet.
Damn,
because
that's a perspective change for sure.
It's like, in my perspective I was the best barista at Starbucks.
Of course.
I can make the fastest drinks, the best tasting drinks. My last day there, actually, one of the customers bought me Laker tickets because they found out I was quitting. That's how much
dope.
Customers loved me there. But once I learned that, like, even me being the best barista here, no matter how hard I work, I'm still going to get paid the same as the shittiest employee here if we work the same hours.
Right.
And that just never sat right with me. So.
Yeah, so.
But I appreciate my baristas.
Hey, no lie. I'm not to disrespect anybody, but I'm just saying.
It's a chapter in your life.
It is a chapter.
Hopefully it's not your career. If it is, figure some shit out.
Exactly. and you know what? Like, and I'm saying this is like because there's always another way to go create some income. If real estate is not your thing because you went through it and you failed a lot, keep going, because trust me, like in the very beginning, I didn't have social media.
Nope.
We had phone books to cold call to try to see if people would want to sell and buy. And I've been doing this 20 some years, and it was difficult. It's a lot more easier now to literally post something on your stories, create a TikTok reel, get a bunch of people to ask you about a freaking house, and then you call them back and ask them if they're qualified. And then lo and behold, you might even get a buyer, let alone another seller, because they like what you did on social media.
Yeah.
It's a lot simpler now. So just figure out your avenue, figure out what kind of fuel you want to put into your vehicle. And that fuel is not just specific from free, knowledge. It's get with the people that you kind of want to be like, not to the T, but the success that person has could probably help you, right? If they have some type of program or whatever the case is, pay to play, pay to understand the knowledge to get you there faster.
100%.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that was great. And I'll leave it off with, I know we talk about a lot of real estate stuff, but just for entrepreneurs in general,
Yeah.
for those that haven't figured it out, just look for a problem to solve, in the service industry. Perfect
Yep.
example I'll give you is how I got started in real estate was with a camera that's recording us.
Yeah.
And, I think as long as you put yourself in a position to solve a problem, you just work hard of it, stay true to yourself, have the highest amount of passion, you're going to end up in places you least expect.
The example is the camera that's recording you now. That's what you were doing with me 4 years ago.
Yeah, just solve the problem and work hard.
That's it. He solved the problem. I had a problem. He solved it. And by association and by understanding the position he was in to figure out the knowledge and to create that input from him videotaping and recording, created a like, hey, I like this type of industry.
And before you know it, our videographer Bobby's going to own like 10 units.
Let's go. Yep.
This was a good episode.
Yeah, this was great. So, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Make sure you click that subscribe button, listen to our podcast, share it as well. We're going to go ahead and post it here on our stories, so you can just click the link and listen to it, subscribe. And, guys, until our next episode, we'll see you guys soon.
Take care, comb your hair. Let's go.